When you think of archaeology, you likely think of places like this, or human skeletons, tombs, flint arrowheads, or cave paintings. It's less likely that you think of plants. Archaeobotany is the study of plant remains and how they relate to past civilizations, and it's a relatively new subsect of archaeological science, only really becoming a foothold for archaeologists around the 1970s in the UK. But it is a vital field of study, and what plants can tell us is not only important for understanding past civilizations, but our own. But how? Well, sometimes it's as simple as where we find these plant materials and in what condition or abundance. For example, if we found a dense collection of highly processed grain, then someone probably put it there, and perhaps it was a storage space. But if it's unprocessed and spread about but still a domesticated grain, then perhaps this was a farmed field. And if it was partially sprouted grain, then it could have been malted in a brewery. You see, simple things like this can give a massive amount of context to the layout of archaeological sites. But it can also tell us other things, like what sort of agriculture was occurring on the sites, such as slash and burn agriculture or practices such as tilling. And we can identify when that stopped, so that then we can perhaps work out why. It is even possible to see how different food was made, whether that be looking at the fractures of grape pips to see Roman wine production, or the composition of breads, like this one. It can even be used for understanding more environmental archaeology. We can reconstruct which vegetation they would have been exposed to through pollen in the ground and small microscopic plant materials such as phytoliths. So how? Well, a common technique used is flotation. The samples taken from the ground are a mixture of soil and organic matter, and by agitating these samples in water, lighter organic materials like seeds and charcoal float to the surface, where they can be collected for analysis. The samples can then be sorted. This can be done by separating them by size with a collection of sieves, and then they can be identified under a microscope and compared to modern-day reference materials. They can also be radiocarbon dated to tell us how old they are. We can look at plant remains more closely by using high-resolution microscopy, digital microscopy, or electron microscopes to see the microscopic plant remains such as phytoliths or pollen, and see what has happened to woods, grains, or seeds, such as how they were crushed or if they've undergone multiple burning events. And even residues found in ancient pots like this one, which is from the early Neolithic, so over 5,000 years ago, which can reveal what foods were cooked or stored. Techniques like lipid analysis allow us to identify fats and oils, while isotope analysis helps us determine the growing conditions of plants, like water availability and soil quality. The history of crops and their domestication can be discovered through DNA analysis, similar to that done on bones. We can reveal genetic relationships between ancient and modern plants. And you can use this to understand how a plant might have changed genetically due to something like drought or flooding, and how it adapted to that, which can then be used to inform how we might adapt modern plants to make them more resilient to changing environments, such as those caused by climate change. Archaeobotany offers a unique insight into the past, revealing how plants shaped our civilizations and continue to influence our future. We can see how societies treated their environments, and we can see how different foods were made and what they were made of. We can reconstruct environments and see the human-plant relationships and how that's changed over time, and perhaps the modern distance between us and plants, and how this knowledge of archaeobotany can help drive scientific breakthroughs. There is so much to learn about archaeobotany. There are many linked papers and articles around this website, so feel free to click around and enjoy.